Buying the wrong house is expensive, but making the wrong decision during the buying process can be even more costly, guys. See, you could overpay for the property. You could lose your deposit. You can discover major repairs after closing. You might accept unfavorable contract terms or choose a neighborhood that does not fit your lifestyle. And, the surprising part is that many of these mistakes happen before buyers even start touring the homes. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the Florida home buying process from literally the beginning to the end, including the most common mistakes that buyers make and how you can avoid them. Hi, I'm David Dowell, real estate broker and real estate attorney here in Orlando, Florida. You see, I help buyers purchase homes throughout Orlando and really all throughout the southwest suburbs, including Windermere, Winter Garden, Horizon West, Claremont, Dr. Phillips, Celebration, and really all the communities surrounding Walt Disney World. But buying a home should be really, really exciting. You don't do it too often in life. But it also involves a lot of legal issues. It involves financing, inspections, appraisals, insurance, contracts, deadlines, title issues, negotiations, and a lot of decisions that can affect you long after your actual closing. So by the end of this video, you're going to understand the major steps involved, the mistakes you should avoid, and how to make really a much more informed purchase. So let's begin with the step that I think should happen before you open a real estate app or attend your very first showing. That's understand your real budget, guys. And see, many buyers start with really the wrong question. They ask, how much house can I qualify for from the lender? But the better question is, how much house can I comfortably afford based on everything? So those, they're not always the same number. In fact, they very, very rarely are. You see, your monthly housing cost may include more than just the principal and interest on your mortgage. So depending on the property, you're also probably going to have, you'll have property taxes. You'll have homeowners insurance, flood insurance. You may have private mortgage insurance, depending on your credit. Homeowners association fees paid monthly. Community development district fees, which we have a lot of here in Central Florida. You got utilities, maintenance, pool expense. You'll have lawn care. So a lender may approve you for a certain amount, but that does not necessarily mean you should spend the maximum. Unfortunately, people do that too often, and it comes back to bite them. So before searching, determine a monthly payment that allows you to enjoy your home without becoming financially stretched. So buyer mistake number one is shopping at the top of the approval range without calculating the complete monthly cost. Now, step two, get fully prepared before actually touring the homes that you like. You see, once you understand your budget, you need to speak with a reputable lender and obtain a meaningful pre-approval. A strong pre-approval helps you to understand your approximate purchasing power, your estimated cash needed to close, your likely loan program, your expected monthly payment, and whether anything on your credit or your financial record needs attention. Frequently this happens, and you've got time if you address this early enough in the process. But it also makes your offer more credible to a seller, because now they're sure, or they feel more certain that you're going to be able to go through with this. But don't focus only on the interest rate. Too many people do that. We hear that every day now on TV, but don't focus on that highly. You need to ask your lender about lender fees for your loan. You need to ask about discount points, closing costs for them, prepayment terms, and how long the lender typically needs to finish or to complete this loan. Normally it's 30 to 40 days. But all these questions are really, really important. And there's never a cost or obligation to talk to lenders at this stage in the process. So if you want one or two or three, talk to two or three of them. So buyer's mistake number two, as I state, is really waiting until the perfect home appears before becoming financially prepared. In a competitive situation, Man, that delay can cost you the property. So you got to know that earlier, guys. Step 3, you've got to choose the right location before the right house. Now, if you've watched some of my videos in the past, you'll see how I really stress that. The location first, guys. This is a lifestyle. You're going to live there maybe the rest of your life, or at least for many years. You need the right area. See, a beautiful house in the wrong location can become a really, really expensive mistake. So before falling in love with, let's say, granite countertops or a swimming pool, think carefully about your daily life. You need to consider things like your commute. How long is it going to take you to get to work or school? School assignments. Are you in good schools in them? Traffic patterns, access to shopping, healthcare, restaurants, recreation, toll roads, airport access, proximity to family, friends, and really future development. So this is especially important in the Orlando area, especially Southwest Orlando, because two neighborhoods that appear close together on a map can really offer really, really different lifestyles. You know, Windermere may appeal to a buyer seeking lakes, golf, and established luxury neighborhoods. Winter Garden may appeal to someone who values a historic downtown that they can walk to and community events. Whereas beautiful Horizon West, it offers newer master planned communities. Claremont, not far away, may provide more space, provides hills, lakes, and potentially greater value. Dr. Phillips, that's going to offer established neighborhoods and exceptional convenience and a lot more nightlife. So buyer mistake number 3 is choosing the house first and evaluating the lifestyle later. You can renovate a kitchen, but you can't move the property. So step 4, distinguish your needs from your wants. Before touring properties, you need to create probably 3 categories. First, your non-negotiables. You know, these might include the number of bedrooms, for example. Maybe you need a home office. You need first floor living, a school location, or a maximum commute time. Second, your strong preferences. You know, these are going to include things like a pool, maybe a 3-car garage, a gated community, a large yard, or maybe you want newer construction. Third, these are features that would simply be, nice to have, really cool. Like, without this exercise, though, guys, buyers often become distracted by the cosmetic features of houses, and they overlook whether the home is actually going to meet their needs. So keep an eye on this. So to summarize, I say buyer mistake number 4 is rejecting a strong property because of cosmetic issues while overlooking more important factors. So remember, paint can be changed easily. Flooring can be replaced easily. Location, lot size, traffic, and floor plan limitations in an HOA neighborhood are much harder to change. Moving on, step 5, evaluate the property, not just the presentation. You see, sellers prepare homes to create an emotional response. They know what they're doing if they have a good realtor. You know, when you walk in, the lighting is warm, right? All the blinds are open, lights are on, the countertops, they're clear, clean. The home smells clean typically. The furniture is arranged perfectly. And so that presentation, it really matters. But buyers need to look beyond all of that. You got to pay attention to the age of the roof. Those have to be replaced frequently, and it's expensive. Pay attention to the air conditioning age, another big deal and a big expense. The water heater age, windows, plumbing, electrical systems, signs of water intrusion. When you walk in a house, look up, look at the ceilings, see if you see leaks. Drainage, foundation concerns, pool condition, insurance considerations, permits for additions or renovations to that house. So don't assume that a recently remodeled home is automatically in excellent condition. You see, cosmetic improvements do not necessarily address structural, mechanical, insurance, or even other types of legal issues. So my buyer mistake number 5 is falling in love with the appearance, before really investigating the condition of the house. And that's a very common mistake people make. So next, step 6, we'll call it, make an offer based on strategy, not emotion. See, once you find the right home, your agent should help you analyze comparable sales in the neighborhood, the current competition, market conditions, and the property's just overall market value. So the offer that you would make should include much more than the price. Important terms to include are the deposit amount. If this falls through, you want to get your money back and you don't want to risk a lot. Financing terms, inspection provisions, allowing you to go in and look at everything. The closing date, personal property, is anything going to be included? Seller credits. Maybe they should give you a little bit of credit because the AC is going to need repaired another year or replaced. Appraisal terms, repair obligations. Something's broken, maybe the seller needs to fix it before you close. Contingencies, what conditions are there? And possession. Sometimes sellers will close on a certain date, but say, you know what, I don't have another house, so I'm going to make this contingent on the fact that you let me stay in the house for another month. Keep an eye on those terms. So sometimes what I'm trying to say is the strongest offer is not always the highest offer. A seller may prefer an offer with really stronger financing, maybe fewer uncertainties, a more convenient closing date, or a larger deposit. This is why it's good to have the eyes of an attorney on your contract and advising you from the beginning. So I will call buyer mistake number 6, focusing only on the purchase price and ignoring the rest of the contract. That's really a common thing to do, but you got to get away from that, guys. You see, as both a realtor and attorney, this is one of the areas where I believe careful guidance is especially important. A real estate contract, it's not just an offer form. It's a contract. It creates legal rights, obligations, deadlines, and potential financing consequences. So let's move on. Number 7, understand your deposit and the deadlines in that contract. You see, after the contract is accepted, the transaction moves pretty quickly. You may need to deliver a deposit. You'll have to apply for financing. You'll schedule inspections. Your realtor will help you with this stuff. You want to review the HOA association documents. You want to obtain insurance. And you want to complete any other requirements within specific periods as required for that particular transaction. Missing a deadline can weaken your negotiating position, or it can affect your contractual protections. So buyers should understand, when is the deposit due? Who will hold it? Who and where? Under what circumstances is it refundable? Very important. Which deadlines apply? What notices must be given? And what happens if the transaction does not close? I think I made another video on that. That's really important. A lot of these contracts, just because you and buyer and seller enter into a written contract, doesn't always necessarily mean they close. So let's call buyer mistake number 7, signing the contract without understanding how the deposit and all the cancellation rights work. Never assume you can simply change your mind later without consequences. Let's move on to number 8. Take the inspection seriously. A home inspection is not designed to tell you whether you should like the house. No, it helps you understand what exactly you are buying. So depending on the property, inspections may evaluate the roof, the structure, electrical systems, plumbing, heating and cooling, the appliances, pool equipment, any water intrusion around the house, mold concerns, termites or other organisms, sewer or septic systems, and well equipment. In fact, every inspection, guys, should include all of that. You need a licensed inspector, home inspector, who knows what he or she is doing. You see, the purpose is not to demand that the seller make an older home brand new. Of course not. But the purpose is just to identify significant defects or safety concerns, unexpected expenses you're going to have, and issues that may affect financing or insurance. So you just got to know what you're buying. So once the inspection is complete, your options are then only dependent on the contract, the language in the contract. You may seek repairs. You may request a credit based on the inspection. You may want to completely renegotiate if there's a major issue, or you may accept the property as it is, or you can exercise a contractual right to cancel if it's in the contract. That's why you got to be careful when you originally write these contracts. You need to have outs. So let's call buyer mistake number 8, treating the inspection as a formality instead of a major decision point. I know sometimes when you're searching for a long time, you finally find that home. It's hard to give it up. But after the inspection, if there's major issues, you got to at least consider it and then move on to another one. Let's move on to 9. Do not ignore insurance, guys, homeowners insurance, appraisal, or even title. You see, 3 issues frequently surprise Florida buyers, and it's these I just mentioned. Number 1, insurance. Property, it may be affordable to purchase, but expensive or very difficult to insure because of the roof, the age of the house, construction, claims history, flood exposure, or maybe some kind of, other factors. So you need to obtain insurance information early and be ready to go once you've closed. The second issue is the appraisal. You see, if you're financing the purchase, which most people do, the lender may require an appraisal to evaluate the property as their collateral for the loan. So if the appraisal is below the contract price, this can create a new negotiation or require the parties to decide how to address the difference. So for example, you buy a house for $500,000, but you think you got a good deal, but the lender does an appraisal and says it's only worth $480,000. The lender may not even give you the loan at this point. So now the third issue is title. A title examination may uncover liens, ownership questions, unpaid assessments, boundary concerns, probate issues, judgments, or any other matters that must be resolved. And your title company will do one of those searches, but just make sure you and your realtor take a look at the report once they've done it. So let's call buyer mistake number 9, assuming an accepted offer means the difficult part is over. Contract acceptance is really the beginning of the investigation and the closing process. So let's move on to step 10. Review everything before closing. Okay? As closing approaches, you should review your final loan terms from the lender, the closing figures, make sure they match, title documents, association information, and any remaining contractual obligations. Your realtor and attorney will help you with that. You'll also conduct a final walkthrough, maybe the morning of the closing. The final walkthrough is not another inspection. It's not your opportunity to find things that are wrong again. No, it's generally just an opportunity to confirm that the property remains in the expected condition and any agreed upon repairs have been completed and included items have remained in the home now that the sellers have moved out. So before closing, verify your cash to close amount, which will come from the title company, the wire instructions through a trusted process, required identification that you've got to take to closing time and location, any utility transfers you have to have ready, insurance coverage has to be ready to go, keys, remotes, and access devices, make sure they're ready to pick up as soon as you sign the closing docs, and whether the seller has completed any and all agreed obligations. So let's call buyer mistake number 10, waiting until closing day to ask important questions. By that point, your moving truck may already be loaded. Your options probably are going to be limited, guys. So lastly, let's talk about briefly what happens at closing. Well, at closing, the necessary documents are signed by both parties. Funds are delivered to the seller. The lender funds the transaction when financing is involved, and the ownership is all transferred through the appropriate deed. Now, the title company takes care of all that, right? They pay the lender, they pay the seller their proceeds, they deliver the keys and the title to the buyer. Now, the exact process can vary depending on the transaction. I've done probably 1,000 of these in the last 20 years as a real estate attorney. But once the closing is complete, you receive the possession according to the contract, and you begin the next chapter as the owner of that property. But the best closings are not successful because of what happens during the final hour. They are successful because the buyer, the agent, lender, inspector, title professionals, and all other parties, they handle the details correctly during the preceding weeks. And just to let you know, the new trend today is most buyers and sellers are not even physically going to a title company office or a real estate office for closing. The new trend is for all this to happen electronically. So ask your realtor about that. Now, just my final thoughts. Buying a home is not simply about finding a property that you like. It's about making an informed financial, legal, and lifestyle decision. You need to understand the location, the condition, the financing, the insurance, the contract, the inspection, the appraisal, the title, and the true cost of ownership. See, the right guidance can help you avoid expensive mistakes and move forward with much greater confidence. If you're interested in buying a home, guys, in Orlando, Windermere, Winter Garden, Horizon West, Claremont, Dr. Phillips, Celebration, or the Disney area communities, I'd be happy to help you to understand your options and to explain all of these. So even if your move is several months away, starting the conversation early can help you prepare financially, help you compare communities, and develop the right strategy before you begin making offers. So use the link in the description to schedule a consultation down below, or you can request my Orlando Home Buyer Guide. And in the comments, tell me which part of the home buying process you'd like for me to explain in a future video. So if this helped you, please like it, subscribe, share it with someone who's thinking about buying a home in Florida. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you, hopefully, in the next video.